my pamphlet, there are two main arguments. And the first is that we don't pay enough attention in debates about young workers and the problems facing young workers at the moment to employer behaviour. And really what I want to do is, through this pamphlet, through my research, through other writing that I do, is really turn some attention to saying, well, what are employers doing? Because the levers of public policy only work if employers respond to them. So that's really central to my argument. And the second point is that we need to not lose sight of the debate about good jobs, job quality in all of this. And I see, not just in the UK but beyond, a danger that the debates about good work are really slipping off the agenda during recessions and really causing some problems for the future, both in the UK and more widely. So one of the things that I'm arguing is it's not just access to jobs that's important, it's access to education, to training, to skill, to upskill the workforce in general. In the pamphlet, I talk about, first of all, public policy, and my main argument there is that we need to not beat young workers up when they can't find work. And a lot of focus of public policy at the moment is around workfare, around removing benefits if they don't effectively seek work. And we really need to look at whether that's an effective agenda. And I really question the extent to which it is. And really, we need to pay attention to, I argue instead, to how public policy engages employers, because ultimately it's them that are creating the jobs, that are offering them to older workers, younger workers, offering opportunities or not offering opportunities. And employers need incentives, but those incentives don't always have to be financial. If we look internationally, financial incentives seem to work to some degree. There is a heavy deadweight cost, what economists would call it a deadweight cost often, but they do seem to work. But there's also all sorts of other incentives for employers around access to skills, around access to different kinds of workers, engagement with schools, and particularly as the school leaving age is rising, we really need to focus on engaging employers with that rising school leaving age. And, for example, employer engagement with Job Centre Plus. We know there are lots of problems for higher skilled young workers when they engage with Job Centre Plus. It's not really, they're finding not a particularly helpful experience. And we really need to link the issue about youth unemployment with skills and training. And public policy is important in that, but we need to really look at what's happening to employers and how employers are thinking and engaging with some of these issues, thinking about engaging with some of these issues. And unions, I argue, can really help here. There are two areas I think that unions can really help. First of all is organising young workers. There are some challenges around that, because of course young workers are more likely to find themselves in workplaces, in sectors, in employment, where unions have struggled to organise: retail, hospitality, catering, these kinds of jobs. And we know that unions find it very difficult. Even during the last sort of 15 years, we know that unions have struggled to organise in those sectors. But it's not to say we should stop doing it. I'm a great believer in sort of constantly talking about organising and constantly emphasising the importance of organising new groups of workers in new workplaces, as well as in the workplaces where we've already got some strength. But crucially as well, and I think this comes across from the international research as well, is bargaining agendas. And I think it's really important that we think about what is on the collective bargaining agenda. There's less evidence of innovation around collective bargaining agendas in this country than there are in many other countries, and I think that really is a challenge. So if we look internationally, we see really good examples of where, even where unions have not got a strong base of young workers, they've really taken the initiative on bargaining around access to work, so prioritising particular groups of young workers, negotiating for broader access to apprenticeships, to training opportunities, those kinds of things. And I think unions really can do a lot there. I also want to just have a small point about collective bargaining in general, because pre-distribution, the debates last week about pre-distribution are very important, and I think there were some really great points made there. But we also need to recognise that collective bargaining itself is a very, very effective way of changing patterns of distribution of income and wealth in societies. And so we need to not forget that and recognise how it really can be effective at helping young workers during the crisis. If we get the agendas right, we then influence employers and employer behaviour. I'll stop there. That was my 5 minutes, I think.